You walk into a room full of strangers. Before you've taken 3 steps, it's already happened. You've decided who you like, who you'd avoid, who seems warm, who seems cold, who you'd trust to watch your bag and who you wouldn't. You didn't choose to do any of that. You didn't weigh evidence. You just knew. And here is the strange part. You reach those verdicts faster than you can consciously recognize a single face, faster than a blink. The judgment was already made before the thinking part of you even arrived. So how much time does your brain actually need to decide whether it trusts someone? The answer is not a few seconds. It is not 1 second. The answer is 1/10 of one. And the reason has almost nothing to do with the person you're looking at. Let's start with what feels obviously true. You probably believe that first impressions are rough drafts, that you glance at someone, form a hunch, and then correct it as you gather real information. Give it a minute. Give it a conversation. The truth comes out, the snap judgment gets overwritten, and you land somewhere accurate. It's a comforting idea. It's also wrong. In 2005, a Princeton psychologist named Alexander Todorov started asking an uncomfortable question. Not whether we judge faces. We obviously do. He wanted to know how fast, and whether the fast version was any different from the slow one. So he and a researcher named Willis ran an experiment that sounds almost too simple to matter. They took photographs of unfamiliar faces, then they showed them to people for controlled slivers of time. 1/10 of a second, half a second, a full second, and after each flash they asked one question. How trustworthy is this person? Then they compared those rushed answers to a second group, people who got to stare at the same faces for as long as they wanted. No clock, no pressure. All the time in the world to decide. Here is what should stop you. The 1/10 of a second verdicts matched the take-your-time verdicts almost perfectly. The people who saw a face for 100 milliseconds landed in nearly the same place as the people who studied it with no limit at all. Giving someone more time to look did not change the judgment, it barely moved. Read that again. The impression you form in 1/10 of a second is, for all practical purposes, the impression you're going to keep. So what does the extra time actually buy you? Todorov found the answer, and it's the part almost nobody talks about. The extra time didn't make people more accurate, it made them more confident. The longer they looked, the more certain they became of a judgment they had already made in the first instant. You aren't gathering evidence, you're collecting reasons to believe the thing you already decided. There's even a darker wrinkle. When exposure time went up from 1/10 of a second to half a second, judgments didn't get kinder or more careful, they got more negative. Sit with a stranger's face a beat longer, and your brain doesn't grow more generous, it grows more suspicious. So the snap judgment isn't the rough draft, it's the final answer. Everything after it is just decoration, which raises a much bigger question. If this happens too fast to be reasoning, what is it? And does it actually matter out in the real world? Or is it just a strange lab result? Hold on to that, because this is where it stops being a party trick and starts deciding things that shape your life. Because here's the problem with a system this fast. Fast is fine when it's accurate, but 1/10 of a second is not enough time to know anything real about a person. It's not enough time to learn if they're kind, or honest, or competent. All your brain has in that instant is the shape of a face. And it turns out we let that shape decide things it has no business deciding. Go back to Todorov a few years earlier, in 2005. He ran a study that got published in the journal Science. And once you hear it, you won't look at an election the same way again. He collected photographs of real politicians, pairs of candidates who had actually run against each other in United States congressional races. Then he showed those faces to people who had no idea who any of them were. No names, no parties, no policies, just 2 faces, side by side. And he asked one question. Which of these 2 looks more competent? Just a snap impression of a stranger's face. Then he checked those snap impressions against the actual election results. The faces people judged as more competent had won their real races about 70% of the time. 2 out of 3. A gut reaction to a photograph, from people who knew nothing, predicting the outcome of real elections decided by millions of informed voters. And the stronger the face advantage, the bigger the margin of victory tended to be. Think about what that means. We tell ourselves that votes are about ideas, policies, track records, careful, reasoned choices. And underneath all of that, quietly steering the outcome, is a judgment your brain made about a face in a fraction of a second, for reasons it never explained to you. The snap judgment doesn't stay in the lab. It walks into the voting booth, It sits in the job interview. It's in the courtroom, and the first date, and the handshake with a stranger. It is running, constantly, under everything. So where does it come from? Why would evolution build something this fast and this powerful, and let it be this crude? For the answer, Todorov teamed up with a researcher named Nicholas Oosterhoff, and in 2008 they published a model that finally explained the machinery. They found that when you look at a neutral face, your brain isn't judging dozens of separate things. It's really asking two questions. 1. Is this person going to help me or hurt me? 2. Are they capable of acting on it? Warmth and strength, intention and ability. And that first question, the one about intent, is what we experience as trust. Your brain checks it first, before anything else, because for almost all of human history, it was the most important question you could ask about another creature. Friend or threat, approach or run. Here is the beautiful, unsettling part of their explanation. They argued that this face-reading system is an overgeneralization. In your deep past, certain expressions genuinely signaled danger. An angry face meant a real threat. A warm face meant safety. That reading system was life or death, so evolution made it fast and automatic. But now it fires even when there's no expression at all. Your brain takes a completely neutral, resting face, and it reads permanent trust or permanent threat into features the person was simply born with. The width of a jaw, the set of the brow, the natural downturn of a mouth. Someone can do absolutely nothing, feel absolutely nothing, and your ancient threat detector has already filed them under friend or foe. And they scanned an fMRI machine to prove it. The amygdala, the brain's oldest alarm system, lights up in response to an untrustworthy-looking face even when you're not consciously judging it at all. That's the whole secret. The snap judgment was never really about the person in front of you. It's an ancient survival reflex, misfiring in a modern world, reacting to a stranger as if the wrong-shaped face were a lion in the grass. Which means the next time you meet someone and feel that instant, certain read on them, it's worth pausing on what just happened. That feeling of knowing is real. But it isn't knowledge. It's a 100-millisecond guess made by a system built for a world that no longer exists, dressed up by your mind as a considered opinion. You've probably been on the receiving end of it too, judged in a tenth of a second, filed away, by someone who was certain they had you figured out. They didn't. They couldn't have. Nobody can. So walk into that room full of strangers. Feel the verdicts arrive before you've taken 3 steps. Notice how certain they feel. And then remember that the fastest, most confident judgment you will ever make about a person is also the one you know the least about.